I'll just call this O2, like O2 system. So in the end, it's all about how do I get ATP to the muscles. If you need it faster or you need it now, you're obviously, this is the quickest way to do it, right? But if you don't, if you're doing 10 to 20 reps, you can take your time and you do some glycolysis. But if you need a whole bunch of it, like buying in the candy store, that analogy, you get a lot of oxygen out of this, right? Then it takes longer, but hey, you're running 5 miles or whatever. It can be 5 minutes. Anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 hours, right? Doesn't mean you're not using any glycolysis though, depending on the intensity. But if you're messing around like the average person on an elliptical machine and they're like kind of looking at the phone and doing this stuff, they're probably just using the oxygen system. Because they're not required to bring ATP in because they're not going fast enough. But if you're a serious runner, you totally are mixing these two, right? You can see a link between these two. If you're running a race, what did you use to run?
Sprints.
That's really short ones?
The 400, the 200, and the 4x4.
Okay, the 400 is definitely a mix. You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're done that race, you're done that race.
Yeah.
Like you can't do anything after that. What was your time? Like around a minute, a little less?
It was 54.2.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Dang.
55, 54, yeah.
Yeah. That was your PR or like?
That was like my PR, like,
Yeah.
I was trying to get it below the 50s, but I can figure it out.
I never got below. I got 51 one time.
Yeah.
But usually I was worried about where you were.
Yeah.
That was one time. I don't know what happened. It was like one of those days you're like, wow. So I was thinking I had all this hope. I never broke 50.
Yeah, what's your 1 mile?
My 1 mile was 11.4. Or no, my
No
1
way.
mile I didn't
Your
do.
1 mile?
My 100 was 11.4. My
Oh.
1 mile was like 6. I didn't really do a mile.
Like
so it was around
6:30?
6, yeah, around 6.
You just did it for like
40.
PE class or something?
Yeah.
That's what I run, bro. I run like 2. I do 2 and like 13. Like 12, 15, 13 or so.
What did you say your 100 meter was?
11.4.
That's fast, bro.
Yeah, he's light on his feet.
So that's the ATP system.
Ah.
ATP. Yeah, it's 10 seconds around
Yeah,
there.
because it's not even 15 seconds. You're definitely using just ATP, creatine. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that why it's so big in the Olympics? It's just like your pure energy, like.
That's all it is, yep. It's they designed that test. All tests are designed to be reliable and to be valid, right? So to be valid, they said, what distance would it take to test humans at their top speed? And it takes past 60 meters to do that, around 50 to 60 meters to do that, and the rest of it's just trying to maintain it, right? So they were testing top speed. The 40-yard dash is testing acceleration, right? They're both ATP, but there's different reasons we're testing it for. To be reliable is like how did you measure it and how are you going to time it, right? That's the difference of it. So then when he did the 100 meters, he was in here, right? He did the 400, it was like this. See that? It was like interconnecting those two. There's no need for that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're not using any oxygen, but you were using oxygen to be useful. So ATP glycolysis, because it took them, your book, I think it's page 84 or something.
And then it goes to the epoch, because excess post-exercise oxygen consumption.
74, I knew it was a 4. What was that?
Epoch.
Yeah, excess post-oxygen consumption. That's what's happening after the workout.
Mm-hmm.
So you go on page 74, it says glycolysis is about 30 to 50 seconds. That's when it's like most abundant, I guess. So you were really close to that, so you were using a lot of glycolysis. If you were to keep going, even another 100 meters or 200, you were starting to type in a slow glycolysis. But you didn't really need to do that because it was right around there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then we have 100 meter dash for ATP because it was about It's at like 11 seconds, right? Then we go glycolysis, 55 seconds. That was pretty accurate, right? But you were running pretty fast. And it wasn't like you could do stuff for 55 seconds and not go as hard as he was going, right? Or like I was doing in the 400. Because you could do like jumping jacks for 50 seconds. But you're probably not using on an ATP directly to do that, right? Because you're just kind of doing a low intense 55 seconds. And he was going hard for 54 seconds. That means he was recruiting type 2 muscle fibers. He was using some ATP at some point. But it was interlooping and your glycolysis was helping you, right? So then we take the 1 mile test, because you guys talked about that. Let's say you said, let's say 6 minutes. We'll just say 6 minutes. Okay, you're definitely using mostly that. But I think that depends on the person's intensity. 6 minutes, for me, right now, that would be really hard for me. I used to run 5 and beat 5. But right now, my intensity would be different. It's all relative, right? So, but if you start running hard 6 minutes, like you're trying to race, not just I want to run a mile warm up at 6 minutes. You're probably just in here, oxygen, right? But if you start saying, I want to run faster, and I actually want to run a really fast mile, then maybe you're running 5 or 4, 45 or something like that. But it depends on the person. That could be someone's race. Their 6 minute could be their actual race, and they run really hard. Then it means they're interlooping these two. They're using something like glycolysis because they're running a little faster, and they need the ATP faster to the muscles to run faster. And the faster you need oxygen to the muscles, then your heart rate goes up to make up for it, right? And your stroke volume goes up. Everything starts increasing. So at some point they do interloop. Which is why that video says it's good to train in kind of all aspects at some point, because they all kind of make it easier to do each of these systems, right? And let's see what else. So this book just says ATP is 6 to 10 seconds. Just call it 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. Don't pay attention to that. 30 to 50 seconds makes sense for glycolysis, but somewhere in between is where they're interlooping. Like 15 to 30 seconds, that's where it's in like the 200 meters. You're definitely using the 200 meters. You'll go even a little faster than the 400, knowing that you don't have to run it twice. You know, so you go a little. So it's definitely more ATP than 200. That's a half a lap. You watch the Olympics, it's when they start at the top and they just run the turn, and then they do it straight. I actually like that one better. I had fun with that one.
Yeah. 200s, yeah.
It's a little less nerve-wracking. The 100 meters was nerve-wracking, man. Like, the fastest I ever ran was 10.6 when I was 29 years old. I got like a medal for that. But the problem was, they had to debate if I get the medal because I ran in the wrong heat. It was weird. I ran against a bunch of 15-year-olds. And they were just all big. I can't tell the difference. I was 29. So I step up to the line. They tell you your order. You're in this heat. You're like heat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But then I guess the one in front of me, the lane must have been open. So I thought I heard him wrong or counted wrong. What are the odds of that? I step up, and there's no one in there. And I looked up. I was like, the guy wasn't around. Is this my race? I was like, I don't know. And I think the reason I ran my fastest ever was because I didn't think. Because I had to rush up to it. He was about to start the race, and I went like that. I was like, oh crap, if I don't go, I'm going to miss my race. So I just jumped up and went to the thing, and I just took off. And they were all like so far behind me, and everyone started yelling at me. Because they were like, either you're the biggest 15-year-old I've ever seen, or you just ran the wrong race. I was like, oh my God, I thought they looked young. So I had to debate. I was like, I didn't know. There was an ugly lane, I didn't know what to do, and they actually just gave me the medal anyway.
How's that fair?
He gave me the medal, but I didn't win. You know what I mean? He gave me a medal.
The participation.
But like on the thing, it was almost like that. But I was like around 10, 6, 8 or something like that. But usually I was running like 10, 8 to 11, 5, depending on the day. It depends on the day. If it's chilly out, if you're just slower that day. It all depends, right? But then I did the 200. That was nerve-wracking. The 200 meters. you have a little bit more time to make up because you're not as like this. You can mess up the start and still win, right? So it's not as nerve-wracking. The 400, you're starting like you can start like this. It's not as bad.
Yeah, I normally like lean into the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, put your blocks like in the right side of the lane and like gas it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got faster. I was pretty fast in high school, but I think you would get faster like I did as you start peaking. Because like you're not your fastest in high school.
Yeah.
If you run 11.4, you could run the time I ran if you train for it. It's just like you start putting more muscle and you get smarter. You start working out better. Like I didn't do those deadlifts and all that. I was just a fast little kid. But I started building muscles. And I think you, if you want to start running again, I'm past the age now. Like I can get stronger now, but I'm past my limit for speed. At 30, I'm almost 39. You know? But like you'll notice that when it comes to your energy systems and age, this ATP system, I think you actually get better with this system when you're in like your 20s up to mid 30s. And you can see it. You guys are getting stronger, right? Like in your 20s and 30s, those of you are there. But then you get past that point, you start, it's getting tougher. It's just the intensity of it and the joints and all that, recovering and all that, and recruiting the type 2 fibers. They start getting tougher, like, and you see it in the athletes, right? They start getting mid 30s and 40s, and their career starts going like this. Except this system, these guys can run races at 50 and still win like marathons and whatnot. Because they're using type 1 fibers, right? They can still get oxygen to the muscles and all that. So you're gonna see like yourself peaking. I couldn't, the way I lift now, I couldn't do it that easily when I was in my young 20s. I had to work so hard. I was like, why is my bench press not going up? So you just gotta be patient if you guys are in your own 20s. It starts getting easier to lift, it just gets harder to lose. This kind of stuff. I can still eat to a point, but I could really eat whatever. I'm sure he can eat whatever you want, right? Yeah, because you can totally burn it off because they're so good like in these systems here. Like you just build muscle, but then you can build strength and testosterone. I think when you're in your 30s if you keep up with it. But then the growth hormone I think is tougher.
I couldn't run like miles or like anything in the oxidative system. Like it was just I like couldn't. It was just not possible.
Yeah,
like
just,
switch.
Your body just didn't want to do it. Yeah, we're all built a little different. Yeah, I think the reason I couldn't run any faster than 10.6 was because I can do a little bit of all that.
The world record is 95.
9.58. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a huge. That's like 10 meters or 15 meters though. You think it doesn't sound like much, but like for me, Usain Bolt would have been at that wall there, and I would have been back here like getting my ass kicked. And only 100 meters is pretty far, you know.
Fast.
He did it. I mean, if you look at the times that he beat people, it was only like 0.2 seconds, and they were like 5 meters behind. It's because it's flying. Yeah. I think I topped out like I was running like 22 miles an hour or something. He ran like 27 or 28. There's a big difference, yeah. I look fast.